All right, welcome back. Last time, we talked all about finding our creative vibe with AI. But here's the thing about a vibe. It's delicate. It really needs the right environment to flourish. And that's exactly what Chapter 2 is all about. Tune in your studio, both the physical and the digital, to turn that little creative spark into a full-blown symphony.
You know, this quote really nails it. Your workspace isn't just some box you do your work in, it's an active ingredient in what you create. Think about it like this. A musician can't compose a masterpiece on an out-of-tune piano in the middle of a construction zone, right? It's the same for us. We've got to tune our environment to create real harmony with our AI tools, creating a space where those quiet, brilliant ideas can finally be heard.
So here's our game plan for building that perfect studio. First up, we're going to dig into why our space matters so much. Then we'll get practical and talk about tuning both our digital and physical tools. After that, I'll walk you through a method to find your unique sensory mix, which all leads to the ultimate goal, hearing those quiet signals that are the real foundation of creativity.
Okay, let's kick things off with the big picture. The studio. Why is it so crucial? And how can the wrong environment create so much static that it just drowns out your creative flow?
So, the author starts with this fantastic, really relatable story about falling into a common trap. He saw one of those super clean, ultra-minimalist desks online and thought, that's it, that's the secret to focus. So he copied it perfectly. And the result? He felt totally sterile and his creativity just dried up. It's such a powerful lesson. Your environment has to match your creative rhythm, not some ideal you saw on Instagram.
Okay, so we've covered the physical desk. Now let's pivot to the digital realm. Because let's be honest, that's where most of our interaction with AI actually happens.
I mean, this analogy is just perfect, doesn't it? Having this incredibly powerful AI, but using it through a clunky, frustrating interface, it is exactly like trying to play a priceless violin while wearing oven mitts. All that nuance, all that potential for a beautiful, creative conversation, it just gets lost. The friction of the tool itself becomes the biggest enemy of your flow.
So what this means is, when you're choosing your tools, the raw power or the number of features isn't always the most important thing. You have to prioritize the experience. Ask yourself these questions. Is it intuitive? Can I try things out fast? And maybe the most important one, does it feel good to use? The best tool is the one that just gets out of your way and lets you talk to the AI.
And this whole idea of a tuned tool applies directly to the digital canvas where so many of us work, our code editor, or IDE. For years, the author used a standard high-contrast theme, just assuming that's what serious coders do. But he had this realization that it was physically exhausting him. It was shattering his focus. His screen was basically shouting at him all day long.
So what did he do? He switched to a soft, low-contrast theme with warmer colors. And this is such a brilliant example of how a tiny, tiny digital change can have this huge physical and mental impact. His screen went from being this harsh adversary to a calm, welcoming workspace. And the result? Way sharper focus and a lot less physical strain.
And look, this isn't just about personal preference. The book has this great story about a junior developer who was feeling completely overwhelmed. After they spent just an hour tuning her IDE, a calmer theme, a bigger font, hiding some of the visual clutter, her reaction was profound. She said it was like a fog had lifted. It just goes to show, a calmer digital canvas really does lead to clearer thinking. All right, let's zoom out from the pixels on the screen to the actual room we're sitting in. Your physical space is constantly sending signals to your brain. Our job is to make sure they're the right signals, the ones that nurture focus, not fight against it.
Light is one of those things that's just incredibly powerful. The author talks about this experiment where he switched to a harsh blue-white daylight bulb. He figured, hey, this will make me more alert, right? Well, as you can see from the chart, it did the exact opposite. It just made him irritable and impatient. But when he switched back to warmer, softer lamps, the whole vibe immediately became more calm and settled. That's a way better state for creative work. And of course, sound is just as important. You really have to be intentional about your audio environment. Whether that means instrumental music, white noise, or just pure silence, it needs to be a conscious choice. And the book makes this brilliant point about music with lyrics. It's risky. You don't want the soul of the song getting all tangled up with the soul of your project.
Okay, so we've talked about light, we've talked about sound, we've talked about digital tools. But how do you actually figure out the right mix for you? Well, that's where the sensory palette method comes in.
This method is basically the key to unlocking what really truly works for you. It's a simple, systematic way to test which sensory inputs, like light, sound, even the amount of clutter on your desk, are best for different kinds of work.
And listen, the goal here isn't to find one single perfect setup that never changes. It's about creating a whole toolkit of sensory palettes that you can pull from depending on what you need to do.
And the process is actually super simple. You just change one variable at a time and you pay attention. How did it feel? Did your focus get better? You can keep a simple log just like the one you see here. Maybe you discover that for brainstorming, that warm lamp is essential, or that for debugging code, a clear desk makes you feel way less overwhelmed. Do this over time, and you'll build this incredibly valuable personal guide to your own creative triggers.
And here's a really powerful discovery the author made using this exact method. He'd always thought this complex electronic music was helping him code, but one day his headphones died, and in that sudden quiet, a problem he'd been stuck on for ages just unraveled. He realized the intense music wasn't fueling his focus at all. It was actively competing with it, especially for that really delicate prompting work.
So, what is the ultimate goal of all this tuning? I mean, why are we spending all this time talking about light and sound and fonts?
This is it. This is the whole point. It's about lowering the noise floor. When your environment is quiet, and I don't just mean sound, I mean quiet in all sensory distractions, you can finally hear the signals that truly matter. These are the whispers of your own intuition, the core essence or soul of your project, and even the subtle personality of the AI model you're working with. A tuned studio makes you a better listener.
And I really want to stress this. The point is not to create some picture-perfect, minimalist utopia you saw online. You don't need a high-tech command center. It's about a mindful, conscious process of shaping your surroundings so they genuinely serve your vibe and support your creative flow.
So before we wrap this up, I want you to just take a second and really think about this. Think about your current workspace. What subtle signals from your own mind or from your projects might be getting drowned out by the static of your environment right now?
All right, so let's do a quick recap of what we've covered in this explainer. Your environment is an active participant in your work. You've got to tune both your digital and physical spaces, and personalization is absolutely everything. Go ahead and use the sensory palette method to figure out what works for you, because a well-tuned studio is what allows you to hear those quiet, critical signals.
So I'll leave you with this. What's one small thing you could tune today? Maybe it's just changing that IDE theme, trying a new playlist, or maybe just moving a lamp. Seriously, you'd be amazed how even the smallest adjustment can open up a whole new channel of clarity and creativity. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.